The darkness is absolute. Stone walls, iron bars, flickering lights that barely cut through the shadows. Every corridor feels tighter than the last. Every sound bounces off cold concrete and disappears into the silence before you can track where it came from. A prison isn't just a building. It's a living thing. It breathes. It watches. And it never, ever lets you forget where you are. But today, something is different. Today, two men are inside who were never meant to be caged. Steven Seagal moves through the corridor like he owns it. Slow, deliberate. Like every step is a decision he already made 10 minutes ago. You watch him, and you immediately understand that this man does not rush. He does not panic. He sees the room before he enters it. He sees the threat before it reveals itself. There is something almost unsettling about how calm he is in a place like this, surrounded by danger on every side, with walls pressing in from every direction. And yet he looks like he is exactly where he planned to be. Then there is Scott Adkins, a completely different energy, a completely different force. Where Steven is still, Scott is coiled. Where Steven is calm, Scott is electric. You can feel the readiness radiating off him, like an engine running at full power even when the car is standing still. He is not waiting for trouble to find him. He is already calculating how fast he can move when it does. Two men, one prison, and something is about to go very, very wrong for everyone who thought locking them inside was a good idea. Here is a question worth sitting with right now, before anything even happens. If you were stuck inside a prison with danger closing in from every direction, who would you want beside you? The man who never raises his voice because he never has to, or the man who moves so fast that danger does not even have time to understand what just happened? Think about that. Hold it in your mind, because this whole experience is going to keep testing that question in ways you do not expect. The prison reveals itself slowly. That is the first thing you notice. It does not announce its dangers all at once. It gives you a hallway, then a door, then another hallway, then a sound you cannot immediately explain, a distant clang, a voice that echoes twice before fading, footsteps that stop just before they reach you. The building itself is designed to disorient, to confuse, to make you feel like you are always one corner away from something you are not ready for. And for most people, that would work perfectly. But Steven Seagal is not most people. He walks through the disorientation like it is not there. His eyes move in a pattern, sweeping left, center, right, up, then back to center. Always back to center. He is cataloging the space, filing away exits, noting shadows, reading the angle of every door frame like it contains information most people would never think to look for. You start to realize that what looks like slowness is actually something else entirely. It is mastery. It is the kind of calm that only exists on the other side of having been in dangerous places so many times that danger itself became familiar. Scott Adkins reads the same prison completely differently. Where Steven looks for information, Scott looks for angles. Where Steven catalogs exits, Scott is already measuring distances between himself and every potential threat. His body never fully relaxes. His weight stays slightly forward, heels barely touching the ground, ready to launch in any direction at any moment. If Steven's approach is like reading a map, Scott's approach is like already running the route before the race begins. Watching them both navigate the same corridor is one of those things that gets under your skin without you noticing. You begin comparing without meaning to. You begin asking which set of eyes you trust more. And that question sticks. The first real moment of tension arrives without warning. It always does in a place like this. A gate that was open is now closed. A light that was on is now off. Something in the arrangement of the space has changed, and both men feel it before they see it. Steven stops first, completely still, not frozen, not afraid, but still in the way that a very experienced animal goes still when it detects something wrong. Every part of him is listening. Every part of him is processing. He does not move, because moving before you understand the situation is how you walk into exactly what someone wants you to walk into. Scott's stillness is shorter, briefer. His version of pause is more like a single breath held and then released as action. He has already identified two possible directions the threat could come from, and he has already eliminated one of them with a single glance. Where Steven is reading the entire chapter, Scott has already turned to the last page. Neither approach is wrong. That is the fascinating thing. That is the thing that keeps pulling your attention back and forth between them. Two completely different ways of being right. The corridors grow tighter. This is not an accident. Whoever designed this situation, whoever decided that locking these two men inside was somehow a good strategy, they chose this environment deliberately. Narrow spaces reduce mobility. Low ceilings create psychological pressure. The constant echo means you can never be completely sure where a sound originates. It is a controlled environment designed to make even experienced people feel off balance. It is not working. Steven moves through a narrow passage with an efficiency that seems almost geometrically precise. His body angles perfectly to fit the space, shoulders turned just enough, feet placed with quiet authority. He uses barely any energy because he wastes none. Every movement serves a purpose. You find yourself watching his hands specifically because his hands are always slightly apart, slightly ready, in a position that looks casual until you realize it is anything but. Scott takes the same narrow passage differently. He does not angle to fit it. He uses it. His shoulder brushes the wall once, and instead of treating that as an obstacle, he reads it as information. He knows exactly where the wall is now, exactly how much space he has, exactly how fast he can move within it. The constraint becomes data, and he processes data instantly. Now the question shifts a little. It is not just who would you want beside you. Now it is also this. Who would the prison fear more? Because something remarkable is happening. This place was built to contain people. It was built with the assumption that walls and bars and locks and narrow corridors create power over the people inside them. And both of these men are quietly, completely dismantling that assumption with every step they take. The prison is not winning. Danger arrives in layers here. That is something you begin to notice the deeper you go into this environment. It does not come all at once. First, it is atmospheric, the sounds, the shifting light, the feeling that the space itself is hostile. Then it becomes spatial, corridors that dead end unexpectedly, rooms that should be empty but feel occupied, shadows that move slightly too much for the air to be still. Then, finally, it becomes direct. And when it becomes direct, everything accelerates. Steven's response to direct danger is something that is genuinely difficult to describe without sounding like you are exaggerating, but you are not. He does not react the way most people react. Most people see a threat, and their brain takes a fraction of a second to process it, then sends signals to the body, then action happens. That process takes time. Not much time, but enough time for the situation to change between the moment of seeing and the moment of responding. Steven appears to skip that process entirely. It is as if he already knew. Not because he has supernatural ability, but because his preparation was so thorough, his read of the environment so complete, that by the time the danger reveals itself, he has already anticipated it. His response looks slow, but lands fast. His movements look simple, but accomplish exactly what needs to be accomplished. There is no wasted energy, no theatrics, no unnecessary force. Just precise, quiet, devastating effectiveness. You watch it and you think. That is what it looks like when someone has done something so many times that it has become part of how they think. Scott Adkins responds to direct danger in a way that almost defies what a human body should be able to do. The speed is the first thing. It is shocking every single time regardless of how many times you have seen it. The speed is followed immediately by precision, which is the part that people sometimes miss because the speed distracts them. It is not wild. It is not uncontrolled. Every movement at that incredible pace lands exactly where it is meant to land, does exactly what it is meant to do, and stops the moment it is finished. There is a word for this that applies to both men, even though they express it completely differently. That word is mastery. And mastery in a dangerous place is the most compelling thing in the world to watch. The prison response. That is how it feels. Like the building itself is escalating its pressure in response to the fact that these two men refuse to be contained by it. Reinforced doors that should slow any normal person down. Multiple threats arriving from angles that should create confusion. The kind of compounding difficulty that is designed to overwhelm, to fracture focus, to force mistakes. Both men make zero mistakes. Steven encounters a situation where three directions are simultaneously compromised, and he chooses the one that looks least favorable because he has read something in the geometry of the space that tells him it is actually the safest. He is right. You realize he was right before the situation even fully developed because you saw him make the choice early and watched it pay off exactly the way he calculated. His strategy does not just work in the moment. It works ahead of the moment. Scott encounters a different kind of compounding pressure, the kind where speed is the only answer because thinking time has been deliberately eliminated. And he thrives in exactly that condition. His ability to process and respond at the same moment, to collapse the gap between seeing and acting to something barely measurable, means that the conditions designed to create disadvantage actually suit him perfectly. The faster the situation moves, the more he is in his element. Here is the thing that starts happening to you as a viewer around this point. You stop watching them separately. You start watching the combination. You start seeing how two completely different approaches to the same environment are creating something greater than either one alone. Steven's anticipation means that he flags dangers before they fully materialize. Scott's speed means that flagged dangers get eliminated before they can develop. Together, they are covering each other's angles in a way that feels almost choreographed, except it is not choreographed at all. It is two masters operating at full capacity in the same space. The prison keeps trying. There is a section of the facility that is specifically designed to disorient. Identical corridors. The same sounds repeating from different directions. No natural light. No external reference point. Nothing to anchor your sense of direction or your sense of time. For most people, 10 minutes in this environment would begin producing real cognitive effects. Disorientation, poor decision-making, the sense that the space is larger or smaller than it actually is. Steven navigates it by slowing down even further. It looks almost counterintuitive. When the environment is most confusing, his pace becomes most deliberate. He is using something that takes years to develop, the ability to track your own movement so precisely that you build an internal map of a space in real time, without external reference. Every turn he makes is stored. Every distance covered is calculated. He is building the prison inside his own mind, room by room. And that internal version is more reliable than the actual building trying to confuse him. Scott navigates the same disorienting section by doing something completely different. He uses the confusion as cover. If the environment is designed to obscure location and direction, then it does that for every person inside it, not just him. He uses the same disorientation that was meant to work against him as a tool. He moves through the confusion faster because he is not trying to map it. He is using it. The unpredictability that should be his enemy becomes his advantage. And you realize something. The prison was not built for either of these men. It was built to work on people who think the way most people think, who react the way most people react, who feel fear and confusion the way most people feel them. And both Steven and Scott, through entirely different paths, have moved so far beyond ordinary responses that the prison's design does not apply to them. The mistake was made the moment they were put inside. Think about what that means. Someone, somewhere, looked at this situation and thought the walls would be enough. Thought the locks would be enough. Thought that controlling the environment meant controlling the people inside it. That assumption works almost every time. It works on almost everyone. Almost. There is a moment somewhere in the middle of all of this that feels different from the rest. A moment where both men are briefly in the same space. Neither of them in immediate danger, both of them aware of the other for a second that stretches longer than a second should. Steven glances across. Scott meets the glance. Nothing is said. Nothing needs to be said. There is a recognition happening that requires no words and no explanation. Two people who operate at that level recognize each other the way musicians recognize each other, the way athletes at the highest level recognize each other. Not as competition, as confirmation. That look says, I see what you are. You see what I am. We are the same kind of different. And then the moment passes and both of them go back to what they are doing and the prison gets to keep trying to be relevant. The deeper you go into this, the more you start feeling it personally. That is the thing about watching people perform at this level. It does not stay external. It comes inside you. You start thinking about how you handle pressure. Not jungle pressure or prison pressure, but your own version of it. Deadlines. Difficult decisions. Moments where everything feels complicated and the right move is not obvious and the space around you feels smaller than it should. Do you go Steven's way? Do you slow down, read the situation, take more time than feels comfortable because you know that preparation is what makes speed possible when speed is required? Or do you go Scott's way? Do you trust your instincts, move fast, adapt in real time, rely on the training you have already done, and let your body carry you through what your mind might hesitate on? There is no wrong answer. That is what this whole experience keeps demonstrating. There is no one way to be effective. There is no single approach that works in every situation. The most dangerous person in any environment is not necessarily the strongest or the fastest or the smartest. It is the one who has developed the ability to read which approach the moment is asking for and then deliver that approach without hesitation. Both of these men have that ability. They just express it differently. The escalation in the final stages is different from the escalation at the beginning. At the beginning, the danger was potential. It was atmosphere and suggestion and the sense that something could happen. By this point, the danger is immediate and constant, and it is coming from directions that keep changing. The prison has run out of subtle options. It is throwing everything now, and both men rise to meet it. Steven becomes, if anything, even more still at his center even as action happens around and through him. There is a quality to the way he handles maximum pressure that is almost meditative. The more intense the external situation, the more internal his focus becomes. He is not more emotional when the stakes are highest. He is less. That reduction of emotion does not mean he is not engaged. It means he is completely engaged, so completely that there is no space left for anything that would interfere with what needs to happen. Scott at maximum pressure is like watching physics demonstrate something. The forces involved are clear and overwhelming and precise. There is no performance happening, no display for its own sake, just capability deployed without reservation, without hesitation, without any gap between the decision and the action. It is extraordinary to witness because it is so genuinely efficient, so genuinely purposeful. Every single thing that happens serves the situation. The prison is losing. It has been losing since the first moment these two men stepped inside, but now it is losing obviously. The environment designed to contain, to confuse, to pressure, to overwhelm, is being systematically taken apart by two people who refuse to be any of those things. The walls are still there. The bars are still there. The design of the space has not changed. But the power it was supposed to have never materialized. Because power over someone only works if that someone allows it to work. And neither of these men allowed it for a single second. There is something worth saying about what it actually takes to be this way. Not just to look this way in a single moment, but to be this way consistently, under any conditions, in any environment. Both of these men did not arrive at this capability by accident. Steven's approach, that deep stillness, that anticipatory calm, that economy of movement, those things come from a lifetime of building them. Thousands of hours of developing the ability to read environments before environments can read you. To understand danger so completely that it loses its power to surprise you. Scott's approach, that explosive readiness, that zero-gap response, that physical precision at maximum speed, those things also come from a lifetime of building them. A different set of thousands of hours. Different disciplines, different methods, different philosophies, but the same level of devotion to becoming genuinely capable rather than just looking capable. Both of them paid for this. In time, in effort, in the daily choice to keep developing when it would have been easier to stop. And now they are inside a prison that was never going to hold them, demonstrating what that payment purchased. The final stretch feels different in your body than it feels in your mind. Your mind is tracking the situation, following the logic, appreciating the strategy. But your body is responding to something else. Your pulse is slightly elevated. Your focus is narrowed to the screen. You are leaning forward without having decided to lean forward. Your breathing has shifted. You are, without any rational explanation, experiencing something close to the tension of being inside that prison yourself, even though you are nowhere near it and in no danger whatsoever. That is what mastery does when you witness it. It pulls you in past the level of observation into something closer to participation. You are not just watching what is happening. You are feeling it. And the feeling is respect, fascination, and the very specific kind of excitement that comes from watching someone do something extraordinarily difficult and make it look like the easiest thing in the world. The mistake they made locking these two men inside was believing that a physical space could define what a person is capable of. That walls could shrink a person down to a size that fits neatly inside them. That pressure and confusion and difficulty could reduce someone to their most basic, most panicked, most manageable state. Some people, yes, that works. These two men, not even close. And as the situation resolves, as the prison finally runs out of options and the corridor opens and the pressure lifts and both men emerge from the far side of it unchanged, unbroken, and completely themselves, you are left with something that lingers longer than the experience itself. A question, a real one that you are going to keep thinking about after this is over. When your environment tries to contain you, when the space around you gets small and the pressure gets heavy and everything is designed to make you feel like you are not capable of more than what is expected of you, how do you respond? Do you have a Steven inside you? The one who slows down, who reads the situation, who does not let the urgency of the moment force a response before the response is ready. Do you have a Scott inside you? The one who trusts what has been built, who moves when movement is called for, who does not let the complexity of a situation create hesitation when clarity is what the moment needs. Because here's the thing, you probably have both. Most people do. The question is which one shows up when it matters. And the deeper question is whether you have put in the time, the real time, the daily boring, unglamorous time, to make sure that whichever one shows up is actually ready. A prison could not hold them, not because of anything magical, not because of anything the story exaggerated or invented, but because both of these men had simply prepared too thoroughly for any environment to be a surprise. That is the whole lesson. Preparation makes the prison irrelevant. What are you preparing for?